Hey everyone, it's me, Mr. Jaye.
And it's DJ Tricky Rick.
Welcome to the Living Life Between the Lines podcast, where we explore the ups and downs, ins and outs, and the many wild and beautiful journeys throughout the bisexual swinger lifestyle. In today's episode, we are absolutely thrilled to dive into the story of the week, and today's guest is someone who brings fire, flair, and fierce energy wherever she goes.
Woohoo!
Please welcome to the show, Regal Jackson.
Yay, Regal.
What an intro.
Yeah.
We're going to explore her bi journey. We're going to talk about how she discovered the lifestyle and navigating polyamory, swinging, relationships with a bisexual man, and lessons that she's learned along the way, all while being bisexual herself. But before we get started, make sure you smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Head over to buyevents.com, that's buy-events.com, to sign up for a profile and get the 411 on all Buy Events news. So with that being said, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Regal, it's been a long time.
We love Regal. Regal's a sweetheart. We love Regal. Every time she comes to the party, we're so excited to have her there. She's just the life of the party.
Regal was one of the first people I met while coming to Ricky's parties, Jacob, and it's just, they've been wonderful people, and I always enjoy their company. So
absolutely,
I'm glad we could do this interview today. So, all right, so with that being said, let's get into it. So let's rewind the clock. Before the glam, before the confidence, before who you are now, where does your story begin, Regal? Tell us about Regal.
So I think way back when I was growing up in Arkansas. And I had my mother, and my father was kind of a free spirit. He would come home and then he would spend a couple days here, and then he would go out and do his thing again. And he was the wild one. And so I pretty much had my mom, and she was a single mom. She worked a lot of hours and things, and I raised my brother and sister. And then we moved to Florida when I was about 12. And
so you have one brother and one sister?
I have I have a brother and sister. They're twins.
Okay. Good deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to grow up really fast.
I did grow up very fast.
Yeah.
I did.
She was the queen. That's what she brings, that she's got that energy.
Yes, that's that energy for
she
sure.
takes care of us. Yeah, Regal knows how to take care of us. So she's a good girl.
So
a lot of fun.
So when did you, I guess, start exploring your sexuality, your first sexual encounter, whether it was with a boy or a girl, or, how did that all start?
Yeah, so like my first sexual encounter, I would say, was really young. I was probably about 6 or 7, and we were playing Mommy Daddy and playing house. And the girl and I we kind of like grinded on each other, and that kind of was the experience for that moment. Okay, this is what Mommy and Daddy does, And then I guess when I was about 10, I had my first real girl-on-girl kiss. And I had never kissed a boy before, but I kissed a girl.
Oh, so it was an experience with a female first.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started playing with girls regularly when I was like 14. I would have like little girlfriends.
Yeah, okay.
And then guys were in there too, but girls were,
That was the primary. The women.
The
women. Okay.
Interesting. And so when did you, I guess, first recognize your bisexuality? Was it something that you always felt that you were, or did a particular moment bring that to light for you? And once you knew, how did you start to explore that part of yourself?
I think when I was younger, I always knew that I was into girls. right? Like, it just always had been a thing for me. And it felt so natural. And then growing up, being, starting to explore when you're about 14, 15, 16. And then I was really starting to explore girls and guys as well. And see if where it took me.
So you're just playing at this time. You didn't really have a relationship per se. It was just sort of like, just being a teenager and just growing up and experimenting, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Just growing up and experimenting. And
so you didn't have any problems with it, anybody in your life telling you like it was wrong or that it wasn't right? Or did you have anybody influencing you saying, yes, that's okay, it's not? You just sort of went with your own gut and how it felt, and it felt natural to you, and it didn't feel like it was a thing, it was an issue.
For me, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
But I knew that, like, my mom, being raised the way that I was, my mom is like, oh, no girl on girl. Like, you're going straight to hell if you do that,
Right.
She's a Jehovah's Witness now.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
And
now, she wasn't back then, but she still had beliefs that you were sort of, that wasn't the right thing to do. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it was not something that I should be doing. And sex to my mother was just like a almost like
a job per se.
Not a topic that we would discuss.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a topic that we would discuss. I never had that like sit down conversation with my mom. It was always like, look, don't do this. It was a bad thing.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I kind of like doing it,
But it doesn't make sense, Mom. Why do I like it so much? Okay.
So, and I think that I took more from my father in that sense, because he's more of like
free-spirited
and will go out and have fun. And my mom is like more reserved.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know if you mentioned it, but did you grow up with an intact family, or did your parents split, or?
Yeah, so like my mom was my primary caregiver, but my dad would come around spurts here and there, and he would come in for 2 days and then he would leave for 2 days, and he had his own separate office, he called it. It was a house, and it was with his secretary at the time. Is always a secretary. So that's kind of like my experience with him, as he just did his own thing and he would come and go as he pleased.
Gotcha. Interesting. And so why don't we talk about your very first same-sex experience? I know you mentioned you had the mommy-daddy playtime, but that I wouldn't consider that maybe a sexual experience. You said grinding and things. So when did the first like full-blown sexual experience with another girl happen?
Well, I think when I was about 14.
And you were still a virgin at this time? With a guy? I mean... No. Okay.
I lost my virginity at 13.
Okay, so you still had that experience, but nothing wasn't with the actual woman. Okay.
Right. And so then with a woman, it was a friend of mine. We kind of just like almost dated back and forth, We hung out together, we did things together, and then we had sex together. And that was just, it felt natural to me. It didn't feel like, I didn't care what anybody thought.
Right. It felt very comfortable to you, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Right.
Very, very comfortable.
Almost natural, if you will. Well, that's good. I know some of us don't really have that luxury. In a same-sex experience, you might be a little nervous or might feel a little awkward. So you didn't have any of that at all, huh?
I didn't feel like that. I just felt natural to me.
That's good.
That's good.
This is another person that like I'm sharing this energy with. And at that time, it just felt right.
Oh, good. That's awesome. And so is anything that stands out like to you that really stuck to you, whether it's a spiritual, emotional, physical, anything about that moment that you kind of just think about every now and then? Or is it something that is just, it's just no big deal?
I kind of like draw energy from that and just say, okay, this is part of who I am. This is it. And I remember back then, and it's still the same way now. Like, nothing has changed, you know? I still feel the same way that I felt back then.
So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. You're pretty young still, right? I mean, you're pretty, you're actually, I mean, you've had some experiences, I think, that a lot of people haven't had, and especially the relationships that you're in now, that you have now is sort of interesting that you've migrated to that at a very early. I think that's probably from your upbringing and where you were, and that was very open for you to be with a female and sort of doing that thing, and then where it's migrated to now. Typically you don't see that, with very openly relationship like you have. I mean, it's something that's very unusual and it's good. I mean, I think that's what you bring to the parties anyway, that energy that you have already. So I think maybe that's what Jay was asking a little bit about too.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go into this. So, how did you find your way into the pineapple lifestyle? Was it something that you may have sought out, or was it something that you just kind of fell into or found?
So this sounds like an easy question, but it's actually a lot deeper than that. When I first got into the lifestyle, I was 16, and I was in a relationship with a man that was way too old for me. And he showed me and explored with me all the things that were there, in this lifestyle. And it wasn't the best relationship, but it was good to get my foot in the door and know what's going on. Like, I didn't know that this even existed, and now I'm 16 and I see, there's another place over here that there's another lifestyle that exists. And I think I may not have been ready for it.
I would hope not at 16
when it
years
happened, but
you were open-minded to it.
I was open-minded, yeah.
And that's really what it was. I think you were.
Yeah. So he was not a very good guy. It was more of a struggle, I would say. It was rough trying to go from 16 to being this person that he wanted me to be in the lifestyle. Is almost like I was dropped into a different lifestyle, one that I never expected before.
Was he older than you?
Oh yeah, he was 31.
Oh wow, so almost twice your age.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Really not.
Yeah,
a good
and being
situation.
16 and 30, wow,
Yeah.
okay, that's unusual. Okay.
In today's world, it's very much frowned upon.
Yeah.
I mean, even back then,
It was, and it should be.
Yeah, for sure.
So being dropped into that big girl world was interesting. And, I would do anything for him because he is amazing.
Right.
And so he said, okay, let's try swinging. And we did. I didn't feel very comfortable with it at first. There's a lot of things that I was hesitant and I didn't like to do. But he was like, you're going to do them.
Right. Now, I know that you do dabble. I say dabble, but probably more so than you really. But I know you do a lot of the BDSM. And was that started then too? Was that sort of part of that? Was it a sub dom sort of relationship with that, or daddy, girl? What was that? Was that
what was your lifestyle dynamic?
Dynamically, what was that? Yeah.
So no, we weren't into any kind of BDSM at that time. It probably was the daddy girl thing that got me.
Gotcha.
Because he's so much older and so much more experienced.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked that, because that sort of fits that mold. Right.
So it does seem like that was a key piece.
Right. Because you said that, you say, I'll do anything for him type of thing, and he was bigger. It's like you sort of, whatever you want, type of an attitude, and sort of get yourself into, I'll go and do that regardless of what I believe and think, I'll do it anyway. And then that you sort of get into that, you get into the lifestyle, and I think that's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, and it got really bad. There was times that he was like, I want you to suck his cock because I want to get my cock sucked by her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then there was one time that it came down to having sex with a couple, and I wasn't into the other couple. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I really don't want to do this. And so he was like, well, do it anyways. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
And so I did. But that didn't feel good.
Right.
So then I was kind of turned away from it. And I was kind of like, man, I don't really like, fucking who he tells me to fuck. Like, I want to be in it to know these people. Like, I wasn't turned off to the idea, but I was turned off to the situation.
And how it was come about, how it was sort of demanded of you to do this particular act or whatever it might be without your consent.
Exactly.
I think that's really what it sounds to me like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how does one that young process that? And then having that.
That's a navigation. That's a tough thing to, Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know being a man and a boy at 16, I tell myself after knowing what I know now about myself, oh yeah, I could totally handle that when I was 16, but really, could I have? I mean, I don't know. So you're just a very strong person, Regal. I commend you on that. How did that situation end? Like, how did you get out of that? How did you navigate through that to get out, to basically escape that? Because it sounds like it was more of a forced thing.
Or move on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So how did you move on from that?
That got worse before it got better. So we continued to do that kind of situation and be in that moment several times. And then after a while, I said, I think I'm happier without this person in my life than I am with. Because I had grown up, I had become a big girl, and I had joined the military, and I thought that I'm going to do this to support my family, right? And that's what I thought I had to do. And when I went in, I said, well, okay, I'm deployed, but I'm a lot happier deployed than I am not deployed at home with this guy. So I decided to split my separate ways when I came back. So we did. And I ended up marrying that guy, and I had gotten a divorce from him now.
That gentleman that you got married to him?
I married him,
wow,
yeah.
Okay.
I had 3 kids.
And I know you have children.
With him.
Do you have children with him?
3 kids with him.
Really? And that's what you have now at the house? Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, 3 kids with him. And so.
And how long was that marriage?
That marriage was 10 years.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years.
What was that conversation like?
It was toxic.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was just, he wasn't a good person. I finally saw what it looked like to be happy. And this wasn't it. I didn't have somebody controlling everything that I did. And I was like, okay, well, I can kind of live and do things and go and not have to worry, about all this anxiety and stress.
For sure. Wow. Well, we're glad you got out of that. That's navigating.
And you got some gorgeous kids too. That's good. I know you take care of them.
So you
some challenges with that.
Yeah,
but it's so good.
You got to look at the positive and the silver linings out of every situation, and you have your children. So
yeah,
it
was all worth it.
Yeah, for sure. So navigating the lifestyle as a bisexual woman, what has your journey looked like for you? And, have there been any moments of liberation, any misunderstandings or empowerments, or maybe all of the above?
So I think that it's a lot different for girls than it is for guys. Girls, we think it's so cool. Everybody thinks it's great that girls are kissing girls, and that's awesome. And, even in the swinging lifestyle, the guys always push the girls first, Oh, okay. And it's almost like we're expected to be bi, so we have like a much different viewpoint of it than guys do.
For sure.
So I think that my journey has been much different, more relaxed, I play with girls. I thought it was normal. It felt normal. This whole time it hasn't been not normal for me. Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. Now, I know the relationship you're in now is sort of an open relationship that you have, not to tell your story, but I know that you have, it's sort of a unique situation. I think you've refined that because of your past and obviously some things that you were like accepting and not accepting. And I think you found a lot of boundaries. I mean, I know you personally because you have a great relationship with your partner. And it's funny because I always thought you guys were the partner, you know, it's like I always thought that was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? So I think that's a great dynamics that you've had and you've had to sort of finesse that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So right now in my house, my partner lives there. I'm going through some transitioning because it was my husband and my husband's partner and my partner. And we all lived together under one roof. And so my soon-to-be ex-husband, the new one, soon-to-be ex-husband has just moved out, and his girlfriend had moved out a year prior to that to go help her family. And so right now it's just myself and Jacob, and we're at the house with the 3 kids. I have 2 kids that are autistic, and then I have one that has OCD. And Jacob and I are just there, and he has his room downstairs. I have my room upstairs. If we want to bring somebody over, we bring them over. You know, it's a really great setup.
Right.
You know, for us, it works really well.
That's great. And I know you guys are doing the BDSM thing too. That's sort of a big finale too. But I know I want to talk a little bit about when you came to the first bi event party and how that's sort of how being a part of the bi events and the parties that we throw has sort of changed and, you know, sort of worked into your lives. Because I know you guys come to all the parties. I mean, if there's a party, you guys are usually always there unless something happens, you know, and then we definitely miss you guys there. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so one day we were talking to a couple, and we went out to dinner with them, and they said, yeah, we can hang out for dinner, but afterwards we're going to this party. And I was like, okay. And they're like, you want to go with us? And we're like, sure, we'll go. And so we went out to our first bi events, and Ricky was there. And back in that day, he used to say, all right, if you're not bi, get out. You know, he would call everybody up and say, you know, say your name and this and that. And if you're not bi, you have to leave. And I was like, that is such a safe place. Like, for me to say that's a safe space, that was like a lot. Like, I was like, okay, this guy is making this to be the safest space that he could possibly do, you know, that he could possibly make. And so I love that about bi events. And then it's just home now. You know, I know everybody. We're friends with everybody. I don't miss a party.
Yeah, if you do or something, everybody's like, where's Regal? Where's Jacob? Where they at? What's going on?
Yeah,
so,
everybody says your presence is always missed when you do miss
absolutely.
a party.
So
It's almost disappointing.
we try to make it to everyone we can.
And that was and they told you when you met that couple, they told you, hey, this is what this is. This is the kind of party it is. It's a bi party. It's definitely, you know, the guys have to be bi to be at the event, and it's a safe place and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, okay, we'll come and see what's going on, because you guys have always just been part of they've been part of the group ever since from day one. I think that they fit right in.
For sure. Definitely regulars, of course, but definitely part of the community that Ricky's building.
And they actually add a little bit more too, because it's fun that they do some a little bit of the I guess you give me the terminology right. I know that the rope tying, the BDSM.
Shibari.
Shibari, that's the name of it. And they do classes, and you guys do, and your partners do classes. And actually, we've had like kink, when we have Hollow Kink, they came and set up, and they did the whole suspension thing.
Oh, yeah.
Very
impressive.
They did that. It was really interesting to do that. And I asked them to come and sort of teach that and sort of do that. And then I know that we actually went to Bi Week in Jamaica in April, and they actually did a suspension out there on one of the cabanas, which was really interesting. It was really nice, and everybody was standing around watching, and they were watching her suspending this young lady. It was very interesting. It's it takes crafts. It's a whole thing about it. And Regal's right there helping Jacob and managing it all. And they bring a lot more to the party than just that. And it's like I have people that ask me, hey, we're a little bit more into this type of a scene. Yes, we like the bi thing, but we also like a little bit more the BDSM. I definitely direct them to Regal and
for
Jacob
sure,
because they're the ones that definitely know a little bit more about how to speak that language per se. That's not mine. I know how to do the flogging. I can see it. I've done it, but it's not my deal. You know, they definitely are the ones to do that.
So let me ask you this about speaking of the shibari and the ropes and everything and the suspension. So how did you get into that? And what do you get out of that? Because I personally have never done it. I may do it. I'm not going to say no, but tell me about that. Like, how did you get into that? And what does it do for you?
So I was at a club one day and I saw this guy whipping around rope. And I was like, man, he's the center of attention. Everybody's watching him. Everybody's giving him all this energy. And then I went home, and a couple days later, I got a like on my profile from this guy. And I said, oh, well, thank you so much for loving my photo. And it opened a conversation there.
And was this on like FET or something like that?
Yeah, it was on FetLife.
Okay.
And so it opened a conversation there. And Jacob and I have been together ever since, and we've done this DDLG relationship.
Explain that. What
is
that?
DDLG for those who don't know?
It's like a daddy-daughter-girl relationship.
Okay.
So it's really, we have a daddy-baby-girl relationship. And he's a nurturer. He is a provider. He makes sure that I have everything I need is where it needs to be. And he like makes me believe in myself and like all the things that growing up that I never really had, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's those daddy issues coming into play. Right. My daddy's free-spirited, but he wasn't there. Right.
So Jacob is more of a uplifter and an anchor almost, if
He's
you will.
He's a protector also too.
Yeah.
They have their energy together is amazing. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I remember the first time I met you. It was a very interesting experience, and it was something I will never forget. But yeah, no, I totally got that energy from the first time I met you too.
And it's interesting how when you talked about the first experience you had with the gentleman you had, your first husband, how that was not really that, but then later on in life, the way it is now, it's sort of that's the norm. That's what you embrace that. You sort of went with it, and you sort of do that, and they live that. They experience that. It's not something they just play around with on the weekends and stuff like that. It's a
24/7 thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's 24/7. I am his submissive. I get him drinks throughout the day and make his food and do all of the things. Prepare his laundry and all these tasks I do, and he provides a service back to me.
Sure. And it's in you. So you would say one of your love languages would be acts of service and all that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I could totally get that. So going back to the Shibari though, so what do you get out of that? What does that do for you?
The Shibari is interesting because if you're the one in the Shibari, in the rope, you start feeling this high sensation, and for me, being the one tying it, I feel a connection with this person, and I think that's what we all strive for, is that connection, that feeling with someone, whether it's sexual or it's platonic or whatever. It's that sexual, or it's that feeling, that connection between the two people, and that's what I get out of the Shibari.
It's amazing. Sometimes I'm just like, how is that? It's just baffling to me sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot of discipline for sure.
Patience and discipline,
yes.
and there's a lot of there's a lot of responsibility there too. I mean, you're taking a lot of responsibility when you're doing that with somebody.
You don't want to cause an injury or rope burn or God knows what.
Lots of years of
knowing exactly.
Yeah, I've spent 9 years doing Shibari and learning about it, going to conventions.
Is that with him? You've been doing that?
Mm-hmm,
oh wow!
So
I'm doing the math here, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no way that she could be as young. She's a young little pup here. That's amazing that this is that you've come a long way and learned as much as you've learned and about yourself and experience and stuff.
So why don't we talk about polyamory?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I know Brandon, when he was on, he mentioned a little bit of polyamory.
That's become a bigger thing now. It really has.
Yeah, so I think people, I'd say 45 and under, are definitely more open-minded to it and more accepting of it and practicing it just in general.
So explain to the people that don't know what that is.
So for me, polyamory is just having a relationship with multiple people, a loving, caring relationship with these people. It's not just about sex. It's okay, it could start with sex. Maybe it does, I've had several female relationships that have started that way. Polyamory is not, swinging, but they could be, it's like they are adjacent.
That's not the primary thing,
That's not
right?
the primary thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I've met several couples that are strictly polyamorous. They do not swing at all.
Right.
And then we've met people who just swing and don't partake in the emotional connection part of it. So
Yeah, so I think a lot of it started with me being a swinger and then being like, oh, I really connected with that person. Well, one person can't give me everything. So Jacob, no matter how hard he tries, he can't give me everything. And so either I'm left without that box being filled or I find it somewhere else, right?
But it's an open thing, and then that's what's so amazing about it. It's not like you're going behind closed doors.
Correct.
You're doing
Right.
something
It's all
behind somebody's
consensual.
back. It's consensual, and you're saying, "Look, I'm going to go somewhere else." And I know Regal had to, get this approved to come and do on the little podcast before she could come and be. It's like, and I get that, and I think that's what comes back to the whole open-mindedness type of thing. So that's really, really neat. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to be open about things, You come across some really cool people, in lifestyle. I've met the best people in the lifestyle. I don't have vanilla friends anymore. I just have kinky, poly, swinger friends, and they are literally the most down-to-earth people that you'll ever meet.
I mean, yeah, I would have to agree with you just because, I feel like in this environment and in this kind of life that we live, you're most vulnerable and you can connect. It just makes connecting with people, whether it's on a sexually platonic way or a romantic sexual way, or even strictly romantic where there is no sex involved, or if it's just platonic where there's nothing other than just enjoying each other's company. So yeah, I would agree with you there for sure. It's most genuine, most down to earth people I've met have been in the lifestyle, you included. So
Thank you.
of course, let's talk about being with a bisexual man. What's that been like for you?
So that's been a journey, and I've been so honored to watch it.
And how did that unfold?
Yeah, did he know? Did you know beforehand?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that he was bi. I asked him, have you ever had any experiences or whatever? And then he opened up to me and told me, yeah, I have. And he was willing to, explore things with me. And like I was telling you earlier, for me, bi is just a thing. It comes natural. So I'm telling him, hey, this is a natural thing. You go and you do it. If it feels good and you like that, do it. Make that a point. Don't care about what other people think. If they say it's not something that's supposed to happen, or they give you shame or whatever, embrace it and say, okay, this is who I am.
So was Jacob out about being bi? We're using his name, but I'm using before coming to bi events. Was that something prior to you? Because I know that coming to the events, because that's sort of what we focus on. We focus on the male in the couple's relationship that's looking for that bisexual experience. They can't find it anywhere else. And that's the main target. I mean, that's our main focus on what we try to do. And for you, you're very supportive already, and not a lot of guys have that in the couple's relationship. They're struggling with that. So you were very supportive in the very, very, very beginning of go explore, let's explore, let's explore. So I think now having the events that we have and making sure that, one, I make sure that there's no straight guys here. And if there's somebody that's very open-minded that I know that I've vented and you know, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, there's no straight guys that come to our parties. And that gives that opportunity for that guy to feel comfortable there and explore those type of avenues with their partner. So it's interesting that you're all, let's go, you know, explore, you know, let's do our thing. Now, once you started going to bi events, how has that transitioned in that?
Bi events is a great spot to explore things, right? Because you don't feel judged. And I think he's gotten very lucky by finding bi events and being able to let loose, if you will, and explore without feeling judged. And I was doing my best at it and trying to make him feel that way. But then this was a whole nother level. This was like, oh, there are people out here, and these people are open, and these people are open, so I can be too.
Right. And it being a night full, because our parties, you know, we have a night full of all kinds of excitement happening. You get all kinds of opportunities. It's not like you have to meet somebody for dinner and you try to figure it out, and then you go back to their room or try to figure out, navigate here. It's like you sort of have that meet and greet, you know, obviously for there, and then we going through and let people experiment. Because, you know, when I do our round robin, basically I say, this is the opportunity for you to go and explore and have a good time, because you got multiple different people, genres, sizes, and those kind of things to experiment different ways and to also watch, you know, if you're just one that's not really knowing what's going on or what's happening, and then that's interesting, and that's great that's there, and you know, that makes this even more fulfilling for that being a part of this.
And I've had the pleasure of attending birthday parties that you guys do at Secrets and things. And one of my favorite things that you guys do, it's like, all right, it's time for the 3:00 orgy, and everybody goes to the playroom, and then it just kind of happens.
They do that at Jamaica too. They're like, oh, by the way, we took over the little room. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh yeah, we go in at 3:00 and we do our own little party. I'm like, well, you go, okay, absolutely, you go have a good time.
Yeah, we took over the disco.
The disco we have in Jamaica. When we do the Jamaican event, we have the disco, and we last year we did actually like little seminars during the day, and then we were going to do like a play party during the afternoon. I was like, who's going to come out here during the day and type of thing. Regal and Jacob, they're right there. They're grabbing them. They're like, okay, 3:00, we're going down there to the disco, and they're going to start playing on the disco ball, which is really cool. And that's an energy. They're definitely party starters. You know, they're usually one of the first ones to get started, and the last ones to say, okay, is everybody done? Everybody come? Everybody good? Everybody happy? Okay. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Love you. That's usually how they roll, right?
So the disco, taking over the disco is really fun. You mentioned the 3:00 orgy. Yeah, so every year, my birthday, we have a 3:00 orgy on Saturday, and we take over the orgy room, and we don't give a fuck who's by. You know, and so it's great to be able to see the guys in there. You know, they stand there and they're like stroking their cocks and they're looking over, and I'm like, yeah, you wish you were here right now. You know, you're this straight guy, but you wish you were here right now.
100%. Do you ever, so with Jacob being as hypersexual as he is at certain times, at least what I've seen, have you ever had trouble keeping up with him, or you?
I think we do pretty good.
Yeah, they're a good team. They're good. Their energy is pretty much matched. Yeah. They have a good energy. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's always just funny.
I've never seen one out tap the other one or nothing like that.
Yeah,
they're usually
neither.
Working together.
Me neither. Yeah, exactly.
Which is amazing. Which is good.
So, as a bisexual couple, when you do go out, I mean, has it only ever been to Ricky's events, or I'm sure you go to other spaces that might not be as safe? So, what's it like navigating those spaces?
I think Ricky's events are key. You know, they're they're what made other events
foundation,
easier.
sort of, yeah.
Exactly, the foundation. They're what made everything else easier. You know, and you're gonna have assholes everywhere. And I think he knows that, and he's like, okay, you know, I think I built him up in a way that he has somebody behind him, you know? He knows that, okay, I can go out to this event and I can say that I'm bi openly. And I know I got somebody that has my back, you know?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
he knows who he's going home with.
Right, exactly.
No, that's awesome.
That is.
And you know, I'm glad that you have that and having Ricky's space, because for me, same thing. You know, I always tell everybody it's going to ruin straight parties for you, and it does. I mean, if I'm gonna, this weekend,
How do you think it makes me feel? When I go to parties, I'm like,
it's
really?
a lot of pressure.
I'm like, all these things I want to change. It's like sometimes I go to parties and I'm like, look, it's like they don't get it. They think just throwing a mattress on the floor is the way to. Oh, here you go. This is a party. It's like, really? I'm like, I don't know. It's just the way that I think about it. But it's good that you guys are supportive. And
Hey,
part of
yeah,
it.
like I said, I mean, I was about to say that I had an option of going to a friend's pool party this weekend or coming to Ricky's. So I'm sorry,
Ricky's,
friend.
hands
I'm
down,
going to Ricky's.
hands down.
I'm going to Ricky's. All right. So let's see here. So looking back, is there any experience or story that lives vividly in your memories that's something that may help shape who you are today? Like a pivotal moment, a moment of a watershed moment, if you will, that kind of got you where you are?
I don't know if there was a pivotal moment. Like, my whole life has been a pivotal moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I've been in this ongoing struggle, you know, like, okay, you know, should I do this thing at 16, you know, and trying to live that life, you know, and then I think every step gave me gave me a foundation for the next step. You know, being in the military, and I played with my husband and, you know, other people there, and that gave me the foundation for, I learned poly, you know, through like meeting the same guy several times, you know, and started to develop a connection with this person. And, you know, he said, what do you think about being poly? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I came here and I met Jacob, and I was like, let's try poly.
Right.
You know,
right.
I was fine with him trying it. He tried it and he liked it. But for me, I tried it and I was like, okay, all right, I could do this.
I have a hard enough time with one person in a relationship, let alone have a couple. So it's interesting. And the one thing about Regal that is very attractive to her is like she's one of the ones who's like, okay, this is what we're doing today. I'm gonna fuck some bitches tonight with my strap on, and this is what we're doing. Or I'm gonna do this tonight, and we're gonna have a gangbang, or we're gonna do this. And I'm like, okay, all right. She's like, she comes with a plan. It's like, I have a plan tonight. This is what we're gonna do. So I think Regal's one of those people that it's like, you know, if she dreams it or wants it, she basically goes out and gets it. Let's do it. Let's 100%. Make that happen. That's
if you
amazing.
Want something to happen, you have to make it happen.
Right,
you know, it's not gonna do it all on its own.
Right. It ain't gonna lick itself, right?
Exactly.
Oh man. Do you want to talk about the tentacles and where that comes from?
The what?
So Regal, when we went to Hito back in October,
You can't be telling all our stories now.
Regal and
I know, right?
we connected. We just had a conversation, and she brought this tapestry, and it was an octopus, and I was like, oh, what's with the octopus? And she says, oh, I just love octopi.
An octopus? Like what? I mean, it's like a stuffed animal or
No,
something?
it was
toy?
It was a tapestry. So it was a piece of cloth that you hang on the wall. It was like artwork.
Okay.
And she hung it up in her room, and it was really cool. But you know, and I asked her, I said, so what's with the octopi? And she says, oh, I just like tentacles. So
yeah, I just silly. I just like tentacles and octopus, and I think like they're very intelligent creatures, and you know they care for their young. You know, they'll starve in order for their young to survive. You know, and like just octopus in general just excite me. I think they're cool creatures. And
It's all the hands. You like all the hands on you. And
it is.
everything.
It's like
the
an
energy.
orgy with, just one thing, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I bring it up because she had brought her bag of toys into the playroom that night and whatever, and I noticed she didn't have a tentacle thing as much as she loves octopi. So for her birthday, I got her a tentacle dildo, and it was on the smaller side. I should have gotten the bigger one, but yeah.
I've never seen this.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's in my bag.
It's probably about 13,
brought it with you?
13 inches long.
Yeah, it's in my go bag.
Jeez.
It's pretty cool, and it's all mermaid colored and everything.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how have you grown from your entire journey? I mean, I know you're saying that you've always been this way, but like, if you could go, let me ask you this, if you could go back in time and talk to your 16-year-old self and tell yourself something valuable, what would it be?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Or I guess I should...
Because you don't have all the facts that you had then.
True. So. Well, let me ask you this as a prequel to that question. Do you think when you were 16, before you even found out about the lifestyle, did you ever picture yourself being in this kind of life?
No. I don't think... I didn't know about it, right? You don't know what you don't know. But I think that this life has made me more accepting and more understanding of people, and gave me a way to look at people through a different lens. It's not just face value. You get to see people, and sometimes it is face value. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, let's go fuck. But a lot of times you get to see past that. And I can see past that. And I don't think I would have had I not been in the situations that I were in.
And that just comes with experience.
Sure, of course. So what's one piece of advice that you might give someone out there that might be watching or listening and might be struggling with their sexuality or struggling with their situation, or might be questioning like, oh, maybe I want to try polyamory? Like, what's a piece of advice you'd give them?
I guess I would say just be really into yourself and listen to yourself, because I tried to dive into a situation I wasn't ready for, but man, am I excited now. I love the situation I'm in and I'm ready for it, right? So don't let anybody tell you when you're ready. You have to be ready.
Absolutely.
And so before, I felt like I was prudish and I didn't want to do these things, and but now I'm like, oh, I want to do those things. And I've found healing in that for sure. Being able to trust somebody and go out there and do the things that I actually want to do, not doing something that somebody's forcing me to do.
See, and that's the thing that's the interesting dynamics that I think that they have too in the relationship that I've noticed with Regal and Jacob, is that, although she may be the sub and she might, have that dad, whatever he'd like to say, she still puts her foot down and says, no, damn it, this is okay or not okay, or this is what I like or what I don't like. And, and then he has got that loving and that passionate type of a person too, which is not an overbearing person, but still loving and caring, which is really amazing to still be like, okay, absolutely. What would you like to do? I'm going to tell this story. It was funny. So this was hilarious. We were at, it was in Jamaica, and Regal and Jacob came into the Kama Sutra room. Well, they were fully dressed. So in order to go in the Kama Sutra room, you've got to be naked. That's the rule. Right. You have to be naked in there. So what happened is that she had like on this little lingerie, I think she had something very quickly that she could take off real quick. Jacob didn't. He had on pants, shorts and a shirt and this and that. And basically, so he's
Who wears clothes at Hito?
Well, I think he came from dinner or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. They came from dinner, and came from dinner. They just sort of wandered down to see what's going on. Gotcha. So anyway, we were like, well, you got to dress down to go in there. And he was like, well, I don't really want to do that. And she goes, well, I'll go in and check it out. So she goes in and checks it out. She goes in there and she checks it out. And she comes back and she goes, well, it's okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be fun. He goes like, well, you made the decision to go in there. You made the decision to be the one in charge here. What do you want to do? And he was like, he was firm with her. He was like, you decide what you want to do. Do you want to go in there? Don't you want to go in there? And she was like, well, I'm not real sure. And he goes, well, look, you made the decision. And it was the interesting dynamics of how he was like, okay, you want to take the lead? Go ahead. And it was an interesting thing that they did it. And then Jacob actually stuck his head in there and they ended up hanging out for a little bit and then heading out. But it was an interesting, that little back and forth power thing was fun. It was to watch that.
I always feel weird when I'm in charge.
You're in the charge, yeah.
I mean, this might be a hot take, and I might say something that might rub some people the wrong way, especially those doms out there. But I've been told from some friends who are subs that at the end of the day, the sub really does have the final say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, there are doms out there that say absolutely not.
Right.
And that's the hot take, is that, at the end of the day.
They're domineering. They're not a dominant.
Well, they're allowing themselves to be in that position. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, that's what I've learned. And I mean, I don't want to say the extent of things, but I
right.
think
And as usual, there's never any wrong way to do it as long as everybody's consenting, right? Yeah. So, but before we go, is there any final words or any shout outs you want to do? Where people can find you on FetLife or on Ricky's website, what your username is or anything like that?
Yeah, so on FetLife, I'm Regal_servant. I teach the Shibari. Rope Marks Tampa is the group.
And you do that on like Mondays?
I do it every other Monday, yeah.
Every other Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it called
in
again?
Tampa?
It's in St. Pete, actually.
Pete.
It's called Rope Marks Tampa.
Rope Marks Tampa. Mm-hmm. And is that a Facebook group or a website you have?
It is a Facebook group, yeah. Okay. And it's also on a group for FetLife as well.
Cool. We'll put the links in the show notes so anybody that's interested
And that's
can
pretty
check
much for anybody, right? Beginners and advanced.
Beginners and intermediate people,
yeah. Just sort of getting started and stuff. Okay, so that might be interesting to go do that one day. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else to go with, Ricky, did you have any other questions?
No, great. I love Regal. I'm glad. Thank you for coming. I know she was a little nervous at the beginning, but
super nervous.
Nervous. But just be yourself. And that's really what we're asked when we come here. These podcasts are not really meant to be anything right or wrong. Right. They're just about being people telling their stories and where they are. Because there's a lot of people that are out there, and everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. And if anybody is out there that would like to be a part of our podcast, this would be a good time that you could drop in. You could actually shoot me an email at Ricky at byevents.com. You got to put a hyphen in there, so it's Ricky at by-events.com, and then just send me an email. Say, hey, I'd love to do a podcast. We are going to try to do some Zoom calls. We are here at the mansion this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. Tonight. Yeah, we got a party. We got some people coming in. They've all sort of been tiptoeing in quietly, which is great. But we're here already, and it's going to be a good party. Probably about 60 or 70 people or so. It's going to be a good party tonight.
It's exciting.
So yeah, it's a good party. I miss a lot of people because we sort of been in the middle of not the lax. We just got back from Jamaica, and a lot of people didn't go to Jamaica with us. We do have an April coming up. Obviously, for April next year, we're a full takeover in April.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
And a full takeover in October. So that means it's going to be a little bit more open. We're going to have more freedom to do what we want to do. Like this year, we sort of had to work around some things and a couple issues just because there was some other groups there. But I think that's going to make it a lot more interesting. And it always just, people are so excited. There's a couple Facebook groups on there that people are jumping on. So if you want to be a part of that, it's with Tom's Trips. Tom's Trips is amazing with us. They've been helping us, supporting us, and they book all our rooms, and they work with the actual Heated Jamaica. They're one of the biggest leaders in Jamaica lifestyle of getting people to come there, and for us to be partners for them is amazing. And I'm so happy that they're continuing to want us to do more and more events, and now we're doing 2 full takeovers in Jamaica where they said we couldn't even do one. So there you go. So I think that just shows that this is needed.
100%.
I think it's important that you have that outlet, even when we were there for a partial takeover, there was still some judgment from other people. Yeah. But when you go to somewhere and like in October where it's a full takeover and you look over and you see one guy sucking another guy's dick at the edge of the pool.
Right.
You're like, I'm in the right place.
Right. Oh, and did I tell you guys, I didn't know that a lot of people might not know, but I was honored, the group, the Bi Tribe, and you guys were both of the two setting the tone for that, for giving me a plaque, or giving us Bi Events a plaque, that the actual guy, there's a little Jamaican guy that sits out there. If you've never been out to Hito's.
Chris.
His name's Chris?
Yeah, his name's
Yeah, he
Chris.
does the wood carvings.
Yeah, wood carving. He does like the plaques and stuff. So if you go out there, they've got plaques all over the trees and all over the walls, and he's been doing it for years and years. And I mean, they're everywhere, through the trees, they're on the billboard, they're all over. And as you go in the bar's, sort of overlooks the pool. They're all inside of the bar and on the outside of the bar. Well, when I got there, he still hadn't put mine up from last year. Like, I was still working on him, saying, hey, when are you going to put up? He goes, man, I'm trying to get a ladder, and I was trying to get up there, and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, we found a spot, and there was a couple of us, and it was like, what about right there? And it's right over the DJ booth. So if you're looking at the DJ booth in the pool, you can see the DJ booth to the right. There's 3 plaques right above the DJ, and the one to the far right is Bi Week's plaque, and which is amazing, because for us to be right there on that plaque, and you guys were the ones that actually did that, and I want to thank you again for being a part of that and putting that together. And they sort of handed it to me while I was on stage, and we saw it. That was interesting. That was a thing. So now when we go to Bi Week, or if you do go to Jamaica and you see it, then hey, take a picture of it and shoot it to us and stuff. But it was amazing.
Well, we want to do something special for you, Ricky, because you provide us all this amazing space and time and community. So we just decided, you know what, we wanted to do something special for Ricky, and so Regal and I, it was both of our ideas.
Yeah, I know.
We pulled together everybody, and we said, hey, everybody, that's mostly the Tampa family. We're like, hey, let's get Ricky one of these plaques. Yeah, and let's make it special.
It's up there, Bi Tribe, it says, and we got all the years on there. We're going to keep putting years on there for every year that we go up there. So if you go there, Jamaica, definitely can see that. So
absolutely. Well, everyone, that wraps up this episode of the Living Life Between the Lines podcast. Be sure you smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future content. If you want your story to be featured on our podcast, send Ricky an email at ricky@bi-events.com. And let me see. I think that was it. Absolutely. So we look forward to seeing you at one of Ricky's events. Feel free to come on out, join the website, and or maybe you'll see me at one of my events, the Metamore events. So until next time, everybody, stay positive, love your life.
Live life to the fullest. Don't let life live you.
Woo!